This speed build is going to be a mess, you guys. I'm going to be like, and then I forgot to record, so boop, here, the next thing's done. Hey everyone, it's Cara. This is Smaller on the Outside. I am one half of Smaller on the Outside, the one with the purple pants there. This is a speed build of a build in The Sims 4 that I live streamed a couple of weeks ago now. I'm working on that house that you just saw there. I looked up floor plans on Google, found one that I liked. I was looking for something that would be kind of a witchy cottage sort of feel. Unfortunately, I did forget to start recording when I built the first walls. This is becoming a pattern with me. I promise I'll get better. So what we're seeing here is I've already got the basic walls, the basic floor plan of the first floor, and I'm starting to put in some of the furniture just to help me determine the spacing. So I don't have walls or floors decorated yet at this point. I'm just looking at where do the main pieces of furniture need to go, and do I have enough room here? Is the scale correct? So putting in some chairs just to make sure we have room for them, popping in some windows, trying to decide which ones look best for the amount of wall space that we have, because of course in The Sims 4 there are pieces that take up certain amounts of space. So there I'm putting in the bar, and because I was live streaming, I was also doing a little bit of asking the viewers of the live stream for some input, so they helped me decide on bar stools with backs. Now I'm trying to find something that will be the appropriate look for the front of the house. The cottagey look, which I'm sure I'll bring up the little floor plan and sketch. Yeah, there you go. You can see it's supposed to be kind of like a wood panel on the bottom, and then the upper floors have sort of stone walls. This is a base game only build, although I do now have a couple of expansion packs. I have Spooky Stuff and the Vampire pack now. I mostly used base game only for this build, so I know that there are some pieces in the Seasons expansion pack, for example, that really would have been perfect to make this look exactly like that little sketch in the picture there, in the floor plan, but I don't have that expansion pack, so I don't have those things. So I'm just getting as close as possible with base game, and I do end up adding some items around the house that are from vampires, I believe, but they're just decorative objects. It's nothing really intrinsic to the build. Right now, I have popped in vampires' kitchen cabinets just to do the spacing, but I go back in and remove those and change them to a base game version. I am, of course, building with bb.moveObjects on. That's what I was just demonstrating to the live stream by shaking the fireplace all over the place there to show that it will allow me to place things a little more freely. It doesn't allow you to place windows and doors more freely, though, which is quite obnoxious. So, yeah, starting to add a little bit of exterior wall decor, lifting it up on the foundation. Now I'm adding the porch that goes around it, and I do make it a little wider on that left side just because in gameplay I know that I'll probably want a little more room there to put items and make sure that the Sims can still fit, but the rest of it I do make only 2 blocks wide, which is pretty much like it is on this floor plan. So now I'm looking at the decorations on the outside of the front of the house, and what are we doing now? Yeah, just adding a few more things, getting ready to do the upper floor, it looks like. So checking, placing, starting to put in floors. People during the live stream were asking me things like, why is this facing this direction, and why did you make this bigger or smaller than it looks like it is on the floor plan? And it's because of wanting it to also be useful for Sims gameplay. So there are certainly some things that look a little bit different than the floor plan, And there are some things that I also end up changing entirely from the floor plan, like the little closet that's in that downstairs bathroom, or bedroom rather. I do actually end up decorating that like a closet would be, but then deciding it's better to just get rid of it. Here I had to redo the stairs because I realized I had put them in the wrong way. Then I noticed that when I knocked out the floor so that this was a balcony looking from the upstairs loft down into that first floor space, I do eventually notice that the railings seem to be floating in the air over the stairs. Yeah, right there, I think. And so I fixed that later. But at this point, I'm still just trying to get the scaling of how big am I going to make this bathroom up here? What's going to make the most sense? So, yeah. Usually when I'm just building or decorating a house, I start with the floors and the walls. But when I'm doing something based on a specific floor plan, I do tend to put in items, even if they're not the items that I'm going to use later, permanently. Even if I know I'm going to change them. It helps to put some items in as a placeholder so that I can tell if my scale is correct. So, just popping things in there, make it look like the picture. All right, I think this is where I realized, that railing was floating, and trying to decide if I wanted a railing or a half wall and what would look better and what would allow me to do it. So I do end up figuring it out. I have to put the stairs back in now. So this was a bit of a thing during the live stream, trying to figure this out. I've done it successfully, other times, but then it's like, what did I do this time that it didn't work? What's going on here? But I do eventually figure it out. So there I am redrawing the floor, getting rid of railings. There we go, knocked out the floor. Aha, there it is. So I have a half wall and nothing hanging over the stairs. So now I'm adding in some flooring in the upstairs loft. Choosing some more pieces. There's looking at the floor plan again. So yeah, this build also, moving it a little bit to give myself more room. I kept going back and forth because I was live streaming. I was kind of all over the place. So I was talking to people, chatting with people at the same time, and then if people had a question about something, I very often skipped to that part to show them something, and then I would start working on that. So here I start working on the outside, the foundation, lifting that foundation some more so that we get more detail of the foundation, changing the color of the stairs, changing the color of the foundation of that deck, trying to choose my columns here, which these end up getting changed out later as well. I do not end up using these. But yeah, just getting some things in there as placeholders. A lot of this does end up getting changed slightly. And some things, as I'm placing it in, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this back porch area later. So I'll just put this in here like this for now, no big deal, So yeah, someone at this point mentioned in the chat that there had been an update where you can now drag the height of the columns, and that has changed the sort of tool when we place the columns. We now have to place them separately, and you can't place multiple in a row, because now there's the additional option of changing their height. So getting the roof placed in there, and I was really happy to see that the roof pieces blended together so nicely around the corners like that. I had never done a wraparound roof like this yet in a build, so I was very happy to see that that works very easily and well. Now over there in the back corner, you're starting to see that the walls, the decoration of the walls that I had put on the outside was showing up on the inside. And that's because that room over there that we had knocked out, the floor wasn't really being recognized as a room. And now I'm trying to figure out the roof, which also someone in the chat ends up helping me figure out how to only move part of the roof instead of, when I do that, having the top and bottom extend. There's a way to only get one end extending so that it'll look more like that picture. So at this point, I'm showing everyone on the live stream what I'm looking at. They also could see a small image of the floor plan the entire time up on my stream overlay, but I was dragging it over onto the screen so that I could see it bigger and also so that it would be seen bigger on the stream because the small image I had really wasn't enough. Hello, kitty. My cat's in here now as I'm recording my voiceover. I don't know if you can hear her meowing every so often, but she's here in the background. And yeah, so starting to see what I'm attempting to do with this roof. And you know, it's not perfect and we end up having to do some different things because it's The Sims and we are limited in some ways. But you know, I get it as close an approximation as we can get with base game. Same here with this. I'm trying to get that stone look on the top, and I tested out some of the brick patterns, but none of them looked right either. So I go back for a stone, which I think is what it's supposed to be, but it doesn't look exactly right. There are better ones in the Seasons expansion pack, but I don't have that, so it's fine. We're fine. Just go with what we have. And then, oh yeah, more adjustments to the roof, trying to get it to look even more like it, but I do have that room over there to the side that's going to stick out of the roof. And so we just end up doing something kind of decorative with that, making it work. Because as you can see, in the real house that this floor plan and sketch are of, that room there probably would just have a diagonal sloping ceiling. And the house that I live in actually has that in the upper floor. Lots of homes do. But that's not something that we can do in The Sims. It doesn't allow us to use, for example, the empty space under a gabled roof as an attic room that would have slanted ceilings. I really think it should. That would be great. But that's not a thing that we can currently do in The Sims, at least not that I'm aware of. So we end up doing this little decorative roof on the side, adding in the chimney above where the fireplace is, just for that little touch of realism and accuracy. Now I'm putting in these little decorative sort of spandrels to make it look like the picture again. And I don't have any sort of like beams to put in. I'm adding the roof trim now. The roof trim ends up giving us a problem on the inside, which you'll see later as well. But in the second part of this video, this is going to have to be a two-part video because the build just took so long that even sped up as much as I've sped up this footage, it would be a 40-minute long video. So I'm breaking this up into two closer to 20 to 25-minute videos for you. But getting into this decoration, I don't have any beams per se, but we do have this little UV screen in base game. So that's what I'm using, this UV screen in brown. And I played around with resizing it. It fits pretty well with two of them together, but it wasn't thick enough for my liking, so I added two more squished up underneath. Again, you can only do this with the bb.moveObjects cheat on, because that allows you to overlap things and place them in ways that you couldn't normally. So I really like the way that turned out, just a fun little detail. Now I'm going around and adding the railing on the patio, which for some reason removed the foundation design in most of the areas. So I had to go back and change that. Adding the stairs in the back now. Looking at some different column options. I think this is where I decided to go back through and just change all the columns. As you can see, I've gotten rid of the columns that were on the farther outside parts of that patio. So I think I had decided at that point to just have part of that be covered and part of it be open so that you could still sort of be on the deck in the back but not under the roof cover. Just a nice little differentiation. So here I was probably taking a bit of a break talking to the chat. That's why there's a bit of a pause. I've edited out most of the really long pauses like that, but every so often there's a shorter pause where maybe I'm answering a question or asking for people's input. Doing a little bit of terrain painting here to demonstrate how that works, really. And I go back later and do more of that. I did realize after I had already put this house on the Sims 4 gallery, and then I think it was when I started editing this footage and speeding it up, I realized that I had put that garbage can out there by the road, by the sidewalk, but I forgot to put a bin anywhere inside the house. So I did end up adding that later in my own game, but it is not in the version of this house that is available for download on the Sims 4 gallery. So my bad, but I did remember the toilet paper rolls. So there's that. And I think I go back in later and add the hand towels next to the bathroom sinks, which, you know, they're not necessary for gameplay. They're purely decorative items, but they're just for that touch of realness. You don't need them in the game. You don't need the toilet paper roll in order for your Sims to use the bathroom in the game. But they're just those little touches of realness. Another one for me is that I have to have a bath mat. Oh, I was changing my display there a little bit. I have to have a bath mat in the bathroom. I feel weird about it if I don't put one in, even though it's a game. Oh, I was asking someone in the chat to help me figure out how you rotate items more than just in eighths, but how you can do it freely, 360 degrees. So that's what I was testing out with the rug. I don't end up using it on that rug, but I do use it upstairs. So that was just me testing it out. Now I'm decorating this little closet here, which I do leave. I left this in the build because I thought it was important to leave that one there. Even though it's purely decorative, it's not something the Sims will actually use. I thought it was an important enough part of the floor plan to stay. But as I mentioned before, I do end up changing the one in that downstairs bedroom. And I also alter the one in the upstairs bedroom, but I don't get rid of it entirely. So now I'm trying to decide on a cute cottage wall. I really like the half wood paneling, but there aren't many options in base game with that wood paneling with any different wallpaper. So now coming up to the upstairs, you can see that the roof trim that I had picked is cutting into the walls. So I end up having to change that. And then there's also an issue. Hello, puppy. Now the puppy's in here. You might hear her nails clicking as she's walking around. Nothing I can really do about that at the moment, but that's fine. There's also an issue with this area up here where you can see that these sort of wall trims that I'm putting on the outside of the house to kind of look like that divider beam between the first floor and the second floor, that ends up cutting into the walls as well. And that really bothered me for a while. I gave up on dealing with it here, and I just decided to decorate the kitchen, take out those vampire pack cabinets and put in something more cottagey, replace the placeholder stove that I had in there with a wood-burning stove. I got the old-fashioned fridge, which is my favorite. Yeah, so just putting it back together with the different cabinets that I'd actually like to use. And I end up remembering that there are all different types of cabinets, but I always use the auto counters thing, and so I forget that you can go in and tell it to use these different counters and cabinets, like these little ones and that tall one that goes almost from the floor all the way to the ceiling. So I had some fun with those things here. And yeah, in the second part of the video, I think, is when I show you the the stuff that I ended up adding to the house after I was finished live streaming. So when I finished this stream, I hadn't done the entire house. And I sat down and finished it after the live stream, not live. And that's what will be in the second part of this video. And that's where I kind of deal with those issues of things cropping into the walls and stuff. Here I was demonstrating this cool rug that comes with the vampire pack, that there are 2 pieces. One is the end piece, one is the middle, and you can kind of make them into any configuration that you want. So now I'm decorating a little space down here, adding paintings, adding little rugs, lights. Right now I just have a placeholder light in all of the rooms, but those all end up getting changed. Adding little decorations now. You know, those very minor details in some ways, but that really make all the difference and make it end up looking like a home. I don't have a family, a household that I have created to live here yet, but in this case, we started with the floor plan from Google and go from there. So we're kind of creating the feel of the home, and then maybe we'll create a household that would suit the nature of this build, rather than the other way around, starting with a family or household and then building something to suit their personalities and lifestyle. So, you know, might be a little backwards, but everyone plays differently. I do enjoy the building immensely. I also enjoy the gameplay, but Nate, for example, the other half of Smaller on the Outside, vastly prefers building, does not like the gameplay at all. Unless you use a lot of the cheats that make you not have to worry about going to the bathroom or eating or drinking or having to sleep, you know, things like that. So now I'm just adding some finishing touches to this downstairs space, and this is approaching the end of where I left off the live stream. So I hadn't decorated the downstairs bedroom or any of the upstairs. So the second half of this video will show you the rest of the decoration that I did off stream, and the second video will also have the final screenshots showing you better views of the final product. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this part of the video. You can join us live at twitch.tv/SmallerOnTheOutside. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.